Hello, I'm Arvel Bird. Today I'd like to talk about the construction of the Native American flute. The Native American flute has two chambers, a short one here on the left and a longer chamber here on the right. The chamber on the right is called the sound chamber and is important to the pitch of the instrument. The purpose of the open holes is to shorten the effective length of the sound chamber. Closing the finger holes on the right order will effectively lengthen the sound chamber. In other words, lowering the flute's pitch. If there were no finger holes, this instrument would be considered or classified as a whistle. On the left is the intake chamber that you blow your breath into. This chamber does not affect the pitch of the flute, but depending on the size of this chamber, it could affect the volume and loudness of the flute. Between these two chambers is a whistle mechanism here in the middle, which the external block hides most of its detail. This is called the external block, or the bird. Once the block is removed, you see two holes and a shallow channel connecting them. Let me remove this bird by untying the leather wrap. So this is called the nest, and the bird sits on the nest. Here are the two holes and the channel connecting the two air chambers. This bird actually has the channel carved into it on the bottom. This channel here is flat. But when the bird is placed in the right position on the nest, it channels the air in a uniform, smooth airflow and creates a narrow uniform stream that blows across the second hole, this hole here, and creates a narrow uniform stream that splits the air. This is sometimes called the tone hole. Once the air leaves the chamber at the narrow slit, it becomes turbulent. Here, when it leaves this, it becomes turbulent. Actually, it waves up and down like a flag waving back and forth in the wind. This motion of the wave produces the energy that causes the second air chamber to resonate. It is said that only half of the air flow that comes out of the channel goes into the sound chamber. I'm not sure if any air goes into the second chamber or if the airflow crosses the tone hole causes the chamber to resonate. Maybe somebody else can clarify me on that. An alternative to carving the shallow channel is to use a metal spacer. This would be referred to as the Plains Indian style flute. A spacer with a slot cut out in it. These were common in the early Plains flutes. By sliding the spacer back and forth, one could adjust the sound of the flute. This type of flute was written about by George Catlin in 1832 in a letter about the Plains flutes while visiting the mouth of the Teton River on the upper Missouri. A more detailed historical account of the construction comes from Reverend Alfred Longley Riggs, a missionary, friend and educator to the Santee Sioux people, who wrote about it in 1869. There is much creativity in flute making, especially in the historical flutes. 5 and 6 holes seem to be the most common. Some flutes had even more. Additional holes are commonly found at the end of the flute. You can see these holes here. There happens to be 4 holes here. These are sometimes referred to as the 4 directions. And these effectively end the flute right here. Instead of the flute ending here, these holes here end the flute and make the flute sound shorter or higher pitched. It was a common practice to have 4 holes, and some makers would use slits instead of holes. The extra length in the flute could be used for all sorts of decoration. Bird heads could would appear to be the favorite, but all kinds of heads can be carved here at the end with these holes. The block. The blocks come in many shapes, sizes, and styles. Many were carved as animals such as birds and horses. Many of these choices in flute blocks or of symbolic importance, whether it is a natural evolution of the cane flute, or influenced by the instrument of outside explorers, we cannot ignore the artistry of the makers. Next time, I'll be talking about finger control. Thank you for listening.